Welcome to another episode of the Nonfiction Writers Podcasting in a Great Way. I'm Ryan Aber, joined by Jason Kersey, and a special guest today with Oklahoma facing Louisiana Tech on Saturday evening, Louisiana Tech radio analyst Teddy Allen. Teddy, how you doing today?
Hey, we're real good down here. A little warm, but looking forward to coming to Norman.
Well, you're not going to cool off much coming up here, unfortunately.
Yeah. 82,000 people put off a lot of body heat, I imagine. Tech's looking forward to coming up there, though, and getting this thing started.
It should be an interesting game. Obviously, season opener for both teams. But yesterday, the news came out that Cody Sokol, is that how you pronounce his last name?
Cody Sokol.
Sokol was named the starting quarterback over a guy who played some last year. What was it about Cody you think that made him the choice in Skip Holtz's eyes?
I think it's just that he's got a little more game experience, although he hadn't played in a year. But he graduated from Iowa, and he's the same size kid as Ryan, who's the backup quarterback now. Who started 6 games last year as a redshirt freshman. But they're both about 6'2", about 210, 215-pound kids. They're both really about the same quarterback. I heard Coach Stoops saying yesterday, they wouldn't change for either guy, and he's right in that regard. The other kids just through the summer and then the fall showed that he was just a step above in game experience, and so I think that's why the call was made. I'll tell you that the backup quarterback is now Ryan Higgins, who will be a redshirt sophomore. Started 6 games last year, and it was a learning experience for him the whole way because one, he was a redshirt freshman, didn't have a lot of blocking or experience in the offensive line. Receivers dropped a lot of balls. His backs got hurt. And Tech scored 19-something a game after scoring 52 a game the year before and leading, the NCAA. So it was a big turnaround. None of that was really Ryan's fault. But the other guy really just outplayed him a little bit. So it's nothing that the backup did. It's more what Cody Sokol did.
And Cody Sokol also went to a junior college that's been pretty kind to Louisiana Tech in the past, a junior college where Tim Rattay set a lot of records. Cody broke a lot of those records. What's that relationship like between Cody and Tim, who is now an assistant coach there?
Yeah, I don't know how much your listeners know about Rattay or how much y'all have told them about him, but he was a wonderful quarterback for Louisiana Tech. He played 10 years in the league with San Francisco, broke a lot of records at Tech where, there's some pretty big records here with Bradshaw and the McCown boys and all those guys playing here. And out in Arizona, Tim got to see Cody play. And so when Cody went to Iowa and it didn't work out, the coaches at Iowa were really high on Sokol. And so he came down here and spending time with Rattay, who's a receivers coach, has been very beneficial. Rattay's a quiet kind of leader. You can't help but love him. He's a football guy. And so hanging around a guy like Rattay it's not going to get me any playing time, but it'll get a guy like Cody Sokol, who's 6'2" and 213 a lot of times, who can throw the ball. And if you break Rattay's records, that means there's something in there. The Oklahoma fans be very familiar with Nebraska, of course, and some would remember the Nebraska game about 15 years ago where Troy Edwards, who was an All-American receiver down here at Tech, and he and Rattay hooked up for 503 yards passing, I think. Just those two that day. Nebraska fans gave him a standing O, and he could throw it around a little bit. And, if Cody Sokol can get anything close to that arena, Tech will have a little more luck this year, put points on the board.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Louisiana Tech's running back, Kenneth Dixon, obviously had a really, really good freshman year. He's obviously an extremely talented player. I mean, what can you tell us about him? I mean, he just seems like sort of the focal point of the offense.
Yeah, he's a guy that any football fan is going to love. He's a 5'10" guy, 214. He's just a really muscle-bound guy from appropriately named Strong, Arkansas. He was the All-American as a freshman. He was the WAC Freshman of the Year. Takes in Conference USA now, but that was during the Western Athletic Conference days. He scored a lot of touchdowns as a freshman, rushed for over 1,000 yards. Last year, he rushed for about 800, only scored 4 times, and he was hurt a lot of the year, but he missed the last 2 games completely. He had a bit of a knee issue. Again, Tech just was not very potent on offense at all. It got sort of to the point where Tech would say, okay, let's block this guy on the line, and then, Kenny, you try to run over or around the linebacker.
Yeah.
It was honestly like that. And you're watching the football, know it gets like that sometimes.
Yeah.
And but he's good enough to do it. The story that's the best to me about Kenneth Dixon is 2 years ago when they played A&M, Texas A&M. That was Manziel's freshman year. Tech loses 50-something to 50-something, and have a chance to tie it on the last play of the game with a 2-point conversion. But anyway, toward about the third quarter, nothing against A&M, but their linebackers are kind of letting themselves deep. You know, if a Tech guy was blocking them, they would just kind of ride that out to not have to mess with Kenneth Dixon. I mean, he's just like trying to tackle an automobile or something. Hopefully he'll get a little room to run Saturday, and the Oklahoma fans can kind of see what he's about. He's a tough player who rarely goes down the first hit. Really good running back.
And on the other side of the ball, there's a guy on Louisiana Tech's coaching staff that a lot of OU people are very familiar with, Manny Diaz, the new defensive coordinator there. Louisiana Tech had some issues on that side of the ball last year. What has Manny Diaz brought to that defense, and do you expect them to be better this season?
Well, they'll play probably a 4-3 this year, unlike the 5-2 they played most of last year. And he's at least had a year with them. He's inherited now a little bit of experience. The thing with the defense last year was they were on the field so much. Again, the year before, Tech and Oregon had led American scoring. Then you go from 50 points a game down to 19 a game. The 4 games any game they lost, they didn't score more than 16 points, which is hard to win when you're just scoring that many when your defense on the field so long. Tech turned the ball over a lot. Again, Dixon was hurt a little bit, and their other back, Kevin King, who will be a receiver this year, actually. They got inconsistent play from their quarterbacks, had 15, 16 interceptions after having 2 the year before. So you're averaging about 2.5 turnovers a game, and it's hard to compare last year's defense to what we haven't seen this year, but they can't be. If they can not have to be on the field so much, they should have a chance, because now you've got a lot more depth on defense. It's definitely the strong, suit of Tech football team going into the season. A lot of everybody in the defensive secondaries played. They got a lot of depth at defensive line, not a lot at linebacker. So Manny's had a little more to work with. They love him, and they can expect to get see a lot of speed on the field Saturday, and I'm as anxious as anybody else to see how this defense will react to that. Plus, will react to the 82 that are going to be there. I don't expect them to fold up in any way. It's just I can't figure out yet how fast or non-fast these guys are. Tech was a very slow team last year. And just, frankly, it's a bit difficult to watch when you're scoring 20 games, turn the ball over a lot.
Yeah. Well, especially after you watched that team 2 years ago.
Especially when we're correct. And when you're scoring 50 a game, and again, there were a couple of those guys went to the pros. One guy, Quinn Patton, is going to catch a lot of balls for the 49ers eventually, but their quarterback didn't. He's not a pro player. Nobody else was. Kenneth Dixon probably will be, but that gives you a lot more room to run. Tech will spread it out again this year. They should have better receivers than last year and a little faster. But we were talking defense, and it's just going to, a lot's going to be put on their plate. They can't get a bigger challenge than what they've got Saturday, and they'll have to rise to the occasion to keep the Bulldogs in it, I would suspect.
Yeah. Louisiana Tech being in the South and kind of being in LSU country, I imagine that it's easy for Louisiana Tech to get overlooked sometimes. But, looking through history, I mean, between Terry Bradshaw, I know Louisiana Tech scored some big upsets over their history. I know I was just reading recently about the 1999 game beating Alabama, the year they won the SEC championship.
Right.
I mean, can you just sort of take us through, Louisiana Tech's sort of what it's like around the program, the history, the legacy there?
Yeah, I'd be glad to give your crew a little update on them. There's in the early 70s, Tech won 3 or 4 national championships in small college. They were 44-4 over this golden era from like 71 to 4. A lot of wonderful players, including Fred Dean, who's in the Hall of Fame. Bradshaw was here right before that. And about 10 years later, they made the move to 1A in around 88, 89. That was the time when Matt Dunnigan was quarterbacking the team from over in Dallas. He's in the Canadian Football League Hall of Fame now, played 16 years up there. And so Texas tried to kind of find their way. It's been a tough sledding when you're playing Auburn and A&M and those people, still trying to get your kind of program moved up a notch. So Texas had some wonderful players. They've just, they've had to bounce around in first the Southland Conference, then the WAC, now Conference USA. And so things are pretty well, it's an established program, but it's still a mid-major. Ruston is not a big town. It's like 20,000 people here without the students. When the students come, it sort of doubles that. And there's a lot of good football in the state, but LSU is obviously the flagship program academically. Tech and LSU are the 2 leaders in the state. Tech's up north. If you start driving west for about 4 hours, you get to Dallas. So that's where we are. And 2 hours east will get you to Jackson, Mississippi. It's a storied history. Basketball is the same way. Carl Malone went here. Tech will have a wonderful basketball team this year. The schedule this year is what is so difficult for Tech, coming to the present. Tech could be better this year than last year. I fully expect they will be, but because of the schedule, the record may not show it. 6 wins, I think, would be fantastic for this team. You start off the season playing the Sooners, and you end September playing at Auburn, and a couple of games on the road in the middle, so 4 of your first 5 on the road. That's about as challenging as you get, especially when you start out with the 3rd and 4th ranked team in America.
Yeah,
on the road. So they've got all they can handle. You'll have the Fred Deans and Terry Bradshaws of the world with the pom-poms out this weekend, and we'll need, the Bulldogs need all hands on deck to make a good showing up there.
Duck Dynasty fans would know a former Louisiana Tech quarterback as well, right? Phil Robertson was a Louisiana Tech quarterback.
His little shop is right behind my mama's house over there in West Monroe.
Really?
Yeah. He may need to bring, guns. I shouldn't say that on the radio. That might help some sort of scatter shot. Phil is what you see on TV is not exactly how they're good old boys. I mean, and he could care less about being on television, honestly. I mean, I know he's proud to have the money, but they were doing really good in the duck business, and they tell me, this is where I got to Louisiana Tech as a student, but, he would come in the locker room, and he's got blood and feathers and stuff on him, and then he would be out at practice, and this is when the defensive back coach, E.J. Lewis, is still retired and lives here in town. He remembers seeing Phil standing over there, and they're going through drills, and Phil just, through his helmet, he's looking up at the sky, looking for ducks and stuff flying over. And they just said, he's not gonna he's not going to stick it out. And
Yeah.
sure enough, he hung it up his senior year, didn't play, and started his duck business, which he would just go from town to town and shop to shop in his truck.
Well, it seems like it's worked out all right for
Not
him.
too bad, huh?
Yeah. No kidding.
Not too bad.
We had some of those guys here last year because OU opened the season against Louisiana Monroe.
Okay.
I think one of the brothers. It wasn't Jace
one
or
of the
Willie.
sons, right?
Yeah.
One of the sons went to University of Louisiana at Monroe.
Yeah.
And it's about 30 miles down the road.
Yeah.
It has been a big rivalry of Tech in the past. But yeah, the Duck guys are good guys. And it's funny, just a quick story. let's say, go to the Masters to cover the Masters, and everybody here wants me to bring them back Masters stuff.
Yeah.
And then you get to Augusta, and the people see your press tag, and you're from Louisiana. They want you to send them back Duck. They want you to send them Duck Dynasty stuff. So it's a no-win. They're good. They're good old boys. I wish I could suit up. We could use Phil. He was a big boy, and he could throw it, but he just wanted to go shoot something or call something.
Yeah, and you can tell just what you said. Watching that show, you can tell that he really couldn't care less about being on TV.
He doesn't care. He wants to hunt, and he will not miss a day. His closest friend is Jay. I mean, it's duck season. He ain't missing a day at duck hunting. You can put piles of money before him. I'll see y'all later. He's the real deal. But he's been good with his. He's been good with the resources, God has granted him, and that's everybody around him is real proud of him. He was actually Tech's alum, not alum of the year, some special, distinguished graduate. That was it, and certainly the graduate with the longest beard, no question.
No doubt.
I would imagine so.
They got some BCS facial hair in that family. Period.
Teddy, going back to Saturday's game.
Yeah.
What do the Bulldogs need to do to pull off a potential upset here in Norman?
Okay, prayer comes to mind. Did y'all tell me has the line gone to 38?
38.5, I think, was the one I saw most recently.
Okay. Not that you guys would care. I'm sure y'all would never be as devious as to bet on a game for anybody listening to your show. For recreational purposes, that's interesting to know. That's a big number.
Yeah, that is.
And here's what, no more than we know about it, because who knows, once the lights come on, that's when you find out what's what. But if Tech can, the basic things like don't turn the ball over, but practically I don't see them having a lot of 12 and 15, 16 play drives.
Right.
So they're going to have to, Sokol's going to have to find some of these receivers. We got a big receiver, Sterling Griffin, and Connor Smith. Paul Turner is a LSU transfer that your listeners may be interested in watching. He's a really good player. He had I think a 70-yard touchdown catch first play of the spring game. They're just going to have to score some. They're going to have some big plays, some big runs from Kenneth to stay in the same. And then if they can keep their, it's kind of weird because you're going to have big plays. That's going to put your defense on the field more. But it's just going to have to be to win, you'd have to be sort of magical. OU's going to have to drop the ball a lot and turn it over and stuff like that. But just practically speaking, if Tech can hit some big plays, maybe can have some couple of drives, keep their defense rested at the right time, and they just have to play kind of a perfect game to hang in there against these people. Nobody's fault. It's just the way things have turned out. 2 years ago, I would have suspected it had been a lot more fun game to watch.
Right.
But who knows? Who knows what's in the athletic heart, and who knows what will happen Saturday till we get out there. Again, I'm anxious to see how much more speed may be on the Tech team than last year when they were really lacking in that area. And unless the Sooners have changed from last year, I recall them, the last time I saw them, they were playing in the Sugar Bowl, and they seemed to be very fast. And speed is a beautiful thing if you're playing football.
Absolutely, Teddy. Well, all right, we'll let you get out of here. We really appreciate you joining us today. Look forward to seeing you Saturday night in Norman.
Thanks for what y'all do for the fans up there, and I hope you have a wonderful season. Hey
Thanks,
to everybody, and we'll see y'all Saturday. Okay, bye.
Sounds great, Teddy. Thanks. All right, that's it for the Nonfiction Writers podcasting in a great way for this week. We'll be back Thursday with another episode. Thanks so much to Teddy Allen, Louisiana Tech's radio analyst, for joining us today. Jason Kersey and I will be back Thursday with another episode of the Nonfiction Writers podcasting in a great way. Check the Oklahoman and NewsOK.com every day for the best football coverage anywhere.